Okay, we're going.
All right, time being 4:30, I'd like to call this meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. Before we adopt the agenda, I just want to clarify under number 3H, subpoint 2, that is authorization resolution to submit Cdgb ADA project application. In other words, we're just adding the ADA after the Cdgb, correct, Judy?
Correct.
Okay,
Thank
so with
you.
that change then, look for a motion to adopt
moved.
the agenda. Mike so moves. Is there, Dave seconds? Any other changes to the agenda? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, is there any public input? Doesn't look like too much. All right. So we can move on then to number 3, Citizens Public Participation Hearing and Community Development Block Grant Program Funds. Judy, is this your?
Yep. So this is going to sound very similar to the information that was presented for the Trail CDGB funds. So basically what I'm going to do is jump through the hoops that the state tells us we need to do in order to qualify for this grant. So some of the things will be just reiterating some of the information that has already been spoken about, what that money can be used for, and then we'll target on what projects we're using it for. This is not going to be a surprise to any of you. We've been talking about this for months. This is just one of those hoops we have to, like I said, jump through before I can actually submit the application. Although we've been working on the LMI, John also had to go out for more. He had to knock on more doors because they added more people within the blocks. Looks like we're at about 56%, so we'll be resubmitting that by the end of the week. But this is the actual application itself. We've already sent that information in and they're reviewing that. And this was something they threw back at us that we needed to do. So with that being said, we'll just go item by item by item through this process.
Good.
So number 3, item A. The city is applying for the Community Development Block Grant Close programs to use these funds for the ADA bathroom projects and trail improvements, and second, the street improvements over here on Lyons, Lima, and Avon Street. The purpose of this hearing is to discuss the CDGB program and discuss community needs and allow public input and the documentation of this process as required by the state for the closure. Okay. What is CDGB? CDGB is a community development block grant, which is a program that works to ensure decent, affordable housing to provide services to the most vulnerable people in the communities and to create jobs through the expansion and retention of business. These grants also are for public facilities, planning, public infrastructure, economic development projects, and special projects. There's many things that these funds can be applied for. The City of New London will be applying for the Public Facilities Close Fund, which are the revolving loan funds that expire at the end of January 31, 2021, and is a non-competitive grant the city can use towards eligible activities. Okay. So that's A. Now we'll go down to B, which is identification of total potential funds. When I closed the funds, I think it was last month, we had a total of $434,621.03. Those are the funds we're looking to get back into our community, and we will be using those funds first and foremost for the Hatton Park remodel and ADA. The accessible paths to parks. We'll be taking a look at Hatton, Pfeiffer, and Franklin. ADA upgrades also at Memorial Park and Pfeiffer Park. After we take a look at those particular projects, we will, because a lot of those are based on estimates and we're in our capital plan. That's where the gentleman from the state pointed me to start with. He said, look at your 5-year plan and see what you already have in that 5-year plan and pull some of those out. That's a great way to start. So that's what I did. And then Chad and I got together and we talked about it. And then we talked about these roads back here, because again, things have to be LMI qualified, low moderate income qualified. And we figured that area would be a great target area, and the streets are desperately in need of repair. So Lyons, Lima, and Avon will receive whatever the difference is between the 434 and those 4 projects. So that's the identification of the total potential funds and where they will be spent. All right, any questions? Eligible CDGB activities. So over a 2-year period, the grantor must complete not less than 70% of the funds must be used for activities to benefit LMI, low moderate income persons. In addition, each activity must meet one of the following national objectives for the program. Benefit LMI persons, benefit slum or blighted districts, or just community development needs having a particular urgency because of existing conditions that pose a serious or immediate threat to the health and welfare of the community for which other funds are not available. We actually pointed to that verbiage for both our ADA project and the street project. If these funds weren't available, we wouldn't have the ability to do these 2 projects. Typically, CDGB has a public facilities portion where the projects will involve streets, sidewalks, water, sewer, drainage retention, stormwater runoff, senior and community centers, fire stations, libraries, ADA accessible improvements to public buildings, that's our project, or similar activities. Our ADA projects meet the requirements. Missy and I have been working very hard. So the ADA projects, what I mean by that is just in and of themselves, because they are ADA projects, meet the requirements. And Missy and I are working on the street project. So like I said, we're in that process, went back out. John has been just instrumental in going out and knocking on doors and seeing if he can catch people at home and have them fill out that survey information for us. So we're in that process a second time. I knew that wasn't going to be one submission and we were going to walk away. The state is very, they have a process and they have procedures that you need to follow. And I knew submitting it the first time was not, and it's going to be a learning curve and a learning process for us also submitting this application. So we are in the process of the LMI eligibility for those streets. And as we can see right now, it looks like we're at 59%. So we'll be sending that back to the state and they'll be scrutinizing it and then getting back to us, and then we'll answer any questions they have at that time. So is there any other questions on that line? Okay. So number D, presentation of identified community development needs. The community need is that none of the parks have ADA accessible bathrooms or paths, which in and of itself makes the project eligible. I was kind of reiterating the same thing over and over again. The Lima, Avon, and Lion Streets are eligible based on LMI guidelines based on the residents within the area within the community. So these are the things we had to look at as we were looking at those projects. All right. E is identification of any community development needs by the public.
Doesn't appear there are
I
any.
think that's a no. Okay. So we have no public to speak on behalf of the needs for the community. And then we move down to H. Community actions to the council. Wait a minute. We're at F. Presentation of activities proposed by CDG applications. So we are, this is where the map comes in. So I did put this in your packet. So this is part of the application process. So on here, we had to put the project description. So this one is for the roads. And then we talked about, you know, we wouldn't be able to do this project without the funding or the help from the funding, and that we were looking at using other funds possibly to make up the difference for the street projects. We talked about the poor condition, possible damage to vehicles because of the poor conditions. We had to put together this narrative. And then here's the actual map. That is part of the application process. Okay. And then for the parks, again, the same description, ADA updates to the bathrooms. It's an ongoing problem. I had to look up all the households. This was statistical data that was provided for me from the state for me. And she helped me through finding those on the website. This is for persons with disabilities and their unsafe ability to get from their car to the ADA accessible playground equipment. Let's say they're a child. Then we put those beautiful pieces of ADA equipment in there. This will get them from their vehicle and have better access to those. I think that's about it with that one. And then again, in the packet, we provide a map of where these parks are for the state. So although we know where these are, the state doesn't know where these are. So they want to see a map and so they can possibly look at a picture of the city of London and say, okay, they're talking about this park and that it probably exists. So they're probably saying, okay, yep, there's Hatton Park, there's Pfeiffer Park, and there's Memorial Park. And then I also have to make the statement that there is no residential displacement or acquisition of land involved in either one of these projects. Okay. And then again, citizen input questions regarding the proposed and other CDGB activities. And we have nobody that will speak on that behalf. And then we go into the committee actions. So the first action is authorizing the resolution to submit the street application. So this gives the city the permission to actually submit that application to the state of Wisconsin. This will be forwarded to council also for further approval.
Okay, is there a motion to, for the resolution to submit the street projects application?
So move.
Mike makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Dave seconds. Any questions?
Dave?
Mike?
Chad? We're mill and grinding. Is there any sewer work or infiltration in that area that we should be looking at also?
Ben has done televising, and those sewers were replaced with PVC, I think in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So Ben is not, Ben is under the impression that we're okay with the mains and the laterals that go to the property line. But from the property line to the houses, that's where we have a lot of old like clay tile and stuff like that. So sometime down the road, not with this project, we're eventually gonna have to figure out from the property line to the house to get those fully sealed because of the low lands in here. We're under the impression right now that a lot of that infiltration comes from the laterals close to the house and it gets into the main. So to answer your question, we do not anticipate any sanitary main. I've talked to utilities. Jason's not anticipating need for any water issues. Once we start doing a little bit more investigation, there might be a storm sewer thing that we got to do some spot repairs, or we probably will be doing spot repairs on curb and gutter.
Curb. Yeah.
But the sanitary main should be pretty good.
All right.
Good question, Mike. Any other questions? Comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then is there a motion for a resolution to submit the Cdgb/ADA project application? John makes,
I'll make that motion, sir.
Mike
Second.
seconds. Any comments or questions on the authorization resolution to submit Cdgb projects application? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. That it, Judy?
That's it.
Thank you. And I want to thank John again for going out and get the signatures. Really appreciate it. Fred?
Mr. Chairman, not that I want to split hairs, but when we approve the minutes, CDGB should be CDBG. I mean, is that,
Oh, it's a typo. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
BG,
Oh,
thank you.
that's
for
important to
catching
go back and do that or not, but once we approve it, we approve it.
We were.
Yeah, yeah.
It was right
That's a good
after
point.
Key
Yep.
Packer when
Yep.
GB.
Pretty sharp this afternoon.
Ron
I
Steinhart's
know,
taught me too
Fred.
well.
What's going on?
Hey, Ron.
Must be all those apples.
Okay, item number 4, finance director's financial reports.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through these, but before I do that, I'm gonna tell you that next month, we're gonna go through these in much more extensive detail because we will be at the end of the year. So we will be talking about where we are at the end of 2020. So where did we come in with expenditures? Where did we come in with revenues? I will have a lot of that information booked. And we can take a look at what we want to do as far as utilizing some of those funds or just talking about in general, what happened in 2021, where are we at with revenues, what happened with expenditures, and then maybe talk a little bit, or 2020, and then talk a little bit about 2021. And because when I look at these, I'm a little bit shocked at how well we're doing, to be honest with you. It's not a surprise that we had a lot of fees going, expenditures this year, unanticipated large expenditures. So when I look at our expenditure side, and you'll see in a few minutes, I truly believe we're going to still have some money left on our expenditure side. And I think that savings came, and again, I'm just speaking and thinking at this point, but definitely we'll be going department by department for next month, and we can talk about, and I will earmark and talk about what the savings were department by department. What I think some of the savings in labor, some of the savings in meetings and mileage and all this kind of things really helped. I mean, you don't want to see this kind of thing continue, obviously, and we don't want to see these large expenditures. No community does. That is outside of your budget process. But it's not looking too bad. I thought, about 2 months ago, boy, when we would get to that expenditure side, we're really gonna be screaming and hollering and kicking, and what are we gonna do? But I think things are actually looking pretty good right now. So I just want us to start with that. So here we are in November. We're always 1 month behind. It takes an entire month after the month to get everything booked and put into our financial system. So that's why we're usually running a month behind. All right, so you take a look at our revenue report. I suppose I can go to that. Oh, you got it up here. Can make this a little bit smaller. And you can see, so we're already at $18,000 more in tax equivalents than we anticipated. Special assessments, I expect one more tax equivalent coming in here for $12,000. Shared revenue, I talked about that ATC payment on that fence that went up, and that also wasn't until, we had a lot of great things happen in
I
20.
just want to interrupt you for just a second, Judy. The minus up there in this case is a good thing.
Yes.
You're what?
Is a
It's
good thing.
Oh,
So on the, thank you, Dave. On the revenue side, if you see a negative, that means you collected more than what you anticipated.
oh. And you
So,
keep it?
so on the shared revenue side, we actually saw $28,000 more than we anticipated. Tax equivalents also, and I expect another $12,000 to come from the housing authority yet for that their tax equivalent.
Why is the grant so big?
That's the one that I wrote for the, I got it on here. The Roots to Recovery Grant Program. So we got $154,000 back from the state. I wrote that grant for, it had to do with the COVID expenditures.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
that's why that one is so big.
Very good job.
Well, thank you. I do have some more that I want to look into yet, but that's going to have to wait until things slow down a little bit here. But I was told there's no end date to that, so it's still in my radar. I'm going to still take a look at that and see if there's more funding we can get from last year. Public charges for services, that there's quite a few that are going to come in under that line item also yet. I was a little shocked at the fines and forfeitures with our court being closed down. I mean, we still have another month to go into that one. Was a little shocking to me. So we're at 77. That's pretty good for only, for their court being completely closed down, I think for months they were. So, I mean, I don't know that that's a good thing, but we're collecting the revenue, more of the revenue than I anticipated we would. Interest, I'll book some more of that. We'll definitely come and hold there. And then I still have to book the sewage fund and the applied sinking funds. And those two alone are, $370,000. So you can see we're pretty close here. I think we're looking pretty good on the revenue side. That grant helped, although we did use that grant for capital projects this year. So I will definitely be talking about that again as I tie everything together at the end of the year. Any other questions on the revenue side? All in all, it's not terrible. Not that my message is ever doomsday. So we're on the expenditure side. And a normal percentage would be about 72%. And you can see that we're at about 89. We'll put up this one that has a little more detail. 89.88%. Again, we're just seeing some savings in areas that are making up for the areas that we're seeing, large deficit. Now, negative is bad here. So negative means you went above and beyond your budget. Cable is assigned, that'll go to 0. I just have to make that adjustment. I do a lot of adjustments in December. Once we start to begin to close things out and I work towards the end of my audit or work towards my audit time. It's not too bad. And then you can see that this capital projects one's actually going to come out of here when we look at operating on the operational side. So that's going to make this even look better. So again, I'll dig down in some detail on this side or on both sides, and we will go department by department. And I'll take a look at where the savings were, where the extra expenditures are. But I think at this point, we're actually it's not looking bad.
Judy, is that correct? We're 468% on community development. We're way over.
So what happened there was everything that's in there. So we have the downtown grant funding is in there. The payment for $25,000 for Seal King is in there. Any of those economic development type payments, although they're going to come from designated fund balance, these are all the adjustments I'm going to do. So all of that will look much better coming into next month. So we had designated funds for those. So I'll take those out of the operational budget and I'll put them in designated funds next month, and you'll see that shrink way down. But for the time being, as we go through the operational budget, that's where we book them right into economic development. So next month that will look completely different. This is one of the areas where we try to move money from one year to the next and hold on to some dollars. We did spend quite a bit out of our community development fund. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just the truth that we did. So we'll take a look at hopefully one of the areas that I try to put some money from year to year. So there's at least some cushion within that budget for community development. So it's an area I definitely focus on at the end of the year. But that's why.
I just really
Yeah. So all in all, it's really, really not looking that bad. I think we actually have one more insurance dividend coming back too. So I think administrative is the one that's going to take the biggest negative this year, and then the rest of them might pull it out. So that would be a positive thing. Any other questions on any of the expenditures? I like going into this time of the year so that I can dig down into those nitty gritty details and then kind of go through those with you next month. So then we move on to assigned and unassigned fund balance. I'm gonna get back to all this. Sorry. And there really is nothing different from last month. There is nothing, I should say there really isn't. There is nothing different from last month to November. Although this will change immensely next month because I'll go through and I will do estimated year-end balances. One of the things I'll be looking to is not probably, but I will be looking to the cable and asking where are you guys at? Are you doing anything else this year? That's what I meet with almost every department head at this time of the year. And I go through with them, how is what you're doing at this time of the year going to affect the money that's sitting in these fund balances? So that I can reflect as, close to what's going to happen at the end of the year and put it in the financials so that what I'm giving to you hopefully is close to what we're going to see when the audit comes around in March. So I sit down with everyone. Do you have any bills that are outstanding that you know about? Big ones in particular, anything $10,000, because I don't want to come in here and present that we have this amount of money and we have all these bills outstanding from December yet that haven't flown, processed through our system. And it happens. We have some, contractors that are 2-3 months out and we're practically begging them to at least get me something so we can book them at the end of the year. All right. So for now, really no changes. We do have this expenditure for the economic development. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
The economic development loan closure that we approved through finance. So I did earmark that there. But I will go through also our unassigned fund balance and see what that's going to look like at the end of the year. Any questions on any of those? Wheel tax? Yes, Tom?
No.
No? Okay. Wheel tax, we anticipated 130. We're at 110, 497. Possibly going to get very close to 130. So we have High Street Crossing, Industrial Loop, and then we have all these projects we're looking at, including the Avon, Lima, and Lions for some of this to help with that project area. So we have Shawano Street, Spur Road, and the North Water Street Bridge. A lot, we don't have exact dollar amounts on these, but these are what we're thinking we're going to use this funding for going into the future.
Don't the county pay for the bridge?
The North Water Street Bridge over by New London Utilities, that's
yeah.
the only
Oh,
city
that bridge, not
Yes.
the big bridges.
Correct.
Okay.
The
Sorry.
three, like 2 on the Shawano and 1 on Pearl, that's all county, but the one over here, that one's the city owns.
I always
Okay.
forget that one.
Yeah, each of those cost the county, I believe it was
Sorry.
Oh, to resurface?
71,000.
Is that what it was? Yeah, we're gonna have to do some, Outagamie County does an inspection on the bridge for us on North Shawano Street, and there's some pending things that soon we should get to. So nothing major, but,
Why is Outagamie inspecting Shawano Street?
because it's in Outagamie County,
Shawano Street?
North Water Street.
Utility.
Oh, you mean out there on
Yeah,
S?
the one that the city owns.
Oh,
Mhm.
And then the Shawano Street project between Cook and Beacon, the wheel tax is gonna be combined with that LRIP funding that we were awarded for that.
that's just on Shawano Street there, 107,500. That's only one block between Cook and Beacon.
Because we got you remember, Judy, it was like a $21,000 or $24,000 grant, LRIP grant for that. So
To go against the 107?
to combine with the 107 for mill and overlay and spot repairs and some storm sewer inlet repairs there.
We're doing sewer and everything there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just the inlets. Some of those inlets are old inlets, so we're going to replace those inlets there.
Yeah, because there have been holes there for years.
So yeah, that stretch is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Judy, well, I know that the state on that CDBG stuff was looking at, they mentioned Wapaka and Shiocton, so should we add them to that for the next month, or, I mean, on
On the map?
no, well, I know that's, you still calculating all of that, but on the 2021 potential stuff, I mean, if like we end up, you said that they'd like us to do those cross streets if we do get the funding from them for these Lima, Avon, and,
So add them to the list when I send in the,
you know, because when you're crunching all the numbers for what to do the most you can do down there for,
yeah,
so just so it's on our radar that,
yeah.
because someone might say, well, why'd you just do them 3? Well, that's all we had.
But Wapaka was not eligible for CDGB grant funding, right? Because we didn't have enough residential
There wasn't enough houses on there. or something?
Right.
right? So that's
Right.
why Wapaka, we originally had Wapaka on there is that we were looking into it, but after investigating,
Yeah.
that one had to come
There
on.
wasn't a residence on that one.
So then Shiocton would possibly still be,
Possibly. And the reason they added those is because they said they gained benefit from the other 3 roads. So because
Oh,
they
yeah.
were in the area, they benefit from the paving of those 3 roads. So that was their idea, their philosophy behind having to go to them too.
It was a big part of Shiocton Street.
Either
the police
way,
station and stuff.
if we're down there with the equipment, to our folks that are gonna come, whether they know where the funding came, they're gonna ask about it, so.
Then the Board of Public Works is gonna see all that stuff. I mean, so it's all gonna be presented to you, dollars and cents and, how far we can stretch it. Yeah, it definitely is an area that needs some attention, so, but all of that will be presented and talked about before.
And just so we're on the same page, don't think that, my gut is telling me we're not going to have enough funding for all 3, that whole stretch for all 3 of
Yeah.
those. Because Judy and I were talking about numbers the other day. What did I say? The Cedar and Northridge was what, 400 and some thousand I sent you or
Yeah,
something?
just about
It's
fell over.
expensive. So between what Judy can obtain from the CDGB and then whatever we can filter with wheel tax, we're going to stretch it as far as we
Get the
can.
most we can.
But don't, I hope everybody's on the same page that I don't think it's going to get all that done. We're going to go as far as we can. We're going to hit the worst stuff as much as we can. Probably like Judy was talking about, maybe something on each of them to try to, hit all of them with something. But that's to be determined yet.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why it would be nice if, when we have these kind of meetings and we're talking about people's neighborhoods, that they would come and, come and talk to us and see what's going on and look at the dollars and the cents. And so we could explain that to them. But unfortunately, we don't usually get the people coming in and talking to us. It's just after the fact that they want to yell at
I
us.
found too in talking with people, because I'm the bad guy and when it comes to wheel tax, it would be very nice to almost always have, maybe once or twice a year, a rolling figure in my head of what it cost, say, to do a piece of street from here to Dave. So you're not throwing out for example, just this parking lot right here where our little cars are parked here.
Or a city
What would
block,
that cost to pave that? That's
a city block.
Yeah.
That'd be a good
Yeah.
quote.
Mhm.
a mill and overlay, and now here's a different price if you got to do some underground work, and just have that figure and say, did you know? Kind of like one of those.
Yeah.
Did you know?
What I can do is I can get the exact information I gave Judy because we based those numbers off of what was actual on Cedar and Northridge. Because that was a mill and overlay, pulverizing overlay. We did spot repairs on the sidewalk. I figured out, what it was for those 3 blocks, 4 blocks, whatever it was. And then you got that number. That's what an actual street was, a year or 2 ago. And then you take that and when people think it's, $500 to do a block, it's not. It's
Well, Chad, if you took the sewer and stuff out of Shiloh Street between Cook and Beacon, off that 107, we'd be at what?
That does not include sanitary sewer.
What?
We're not doing a sanitary sewer on Shawano. That's just mill and overlay and spot repair, what you see right
Well,
there.
there's your answer, Johnny.
$100,000 a block.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Well, yeah, because I think you
Plus
just
the
said 4
24.
blocks is 400,000.
So
So
100
you
and a
can just go
quarter.
with 100.
You-
100 grand.
100 and a
Over
quarter, because
$100,000
he's
for
got
city
grant
block.
money going to that too.
And that's a
Well, no,
mill and
for-
overlay and
For
spot
residents'
repair.
questions,
what
when they
spot?
ask, you
Spot
can tell
repair.
them a mill and overlay
What?
for one
Like
block.
curb and gutter spot
Takes
repair.
Oh, okay.
tax for a whole year to get one block.
$100,000 a
Figure out how
block.
many blocks are in London.
Mill and overlay.
There you go.
Maybe next year when we start the road construction season, maybe Casey can even do some video, a guy with a hard hat from MCC.
Sure.
So can you tell me,
Yeah.
how much, what's the price tag on that? 100,000, and then,
He can just
so
visualize.
from me and a guy in a utility coat, and then,
Yeah,
so that guy is 100,000. And
Price per block.
We can find a yellow jacket and a hard hat for you if you want.
yeah, I would, it'd be like the guy on Dirty Jobs, So tell
Yeah.
me,
Like
I
roll.
like that.
I think Casey would like that too. I
Well,
mean,
you
I-
were,
that's
Johnny and
that's what he likes
Casey
to
could do that.
The unique
Phil,
personality,
yeah.
that's for sure.
but I mean,
Like
because we
I
don't,
think that's a good idea, Johnny. Get-
I do too.
Use him to get that information out there.
yeah, and people will understand
Well,
better.
and what we can do is
So-
when we do Warner Allen,
Yeah.
Yeah,
when we're out there doing Warner Allen next year, boom, we can kind of explain a little bit better.
Yeah.
What the true cost of that is not.
people are curious when
Rough
those kind
estimate,
of,
it takes a whole year worth of wheel tax to do one block.
and some footage when they're
You're right.
down in that trench. And
You're right,
different-
Dave.
It's a whole year wheel tax, we do one city block.
Yeah.
Only one side of it too. We
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
go, I go around that, we're just what?
And
I told one guy as an example, he was complaining about the wheel tax and the hole in his road up there. I said, well, I can have somebody come up there with a shovel full of blacktop, put it in the hole. I said, there's your wheel tax. That's about all you're gonna get is a hole fill.
You're right.
He just looked at me and laughed, and I said, that's about your $20.
there you go.
Just give him my number.
There you go.
Yeah, so we should get that word out next
That's a
year.
good idea, Johnny.
Okay, Judy, where are we at?
And then I just have the bond schedule. Still working on finishing up that wastewater treatment plant project. So that money is still sitting there. And then I just have my, excuse me, my comments of what I did this month. So basically, as you all know, we are in full swing collecting taxes. So everything else was in between. Monday, we took in almost $1 million in City Hall in one day. So Monday was really, I think because we were down Thursday, Friday for New Year's Eve, and then, the 4-day weekend. When we came in on Monday, one of the bills that Jane did had 100 parcels. I think it was one envelope with 100 parcels in it. It was probably one of the busiest days I've ever seen. I knew it was going to be. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't unanticipated, but yep. So we've been happily busy collecting taxes. Honestly, it's been really a great connection. The girls in the back have really stepped up. Missy watching the front. So April and Jill trying to get through payroll, and the rest of us just trying to dig in and get all that tax collection done. So it has really been a great harmony between offices, and they have been just phenomenal helping out. So I really, really appreciate the work and the team effort to get things done at this time of the year. It really has worked out well.
Well, thanks to everyone for working as a team.
Yes.
Yes, it has.
Thank
It
them.
has been phenomenal.
I'd like to comment on that too. I mean, you guys are running around there like crazy and the work's still getting done. Their daily loads are still getting done, plus taking care of all this. And I've seen them deal with 3 or 4 people at a time, and they just know where everybody's going to be. They're working very well together.
It has been a great tax season, I have to admit. Great communication. Everyone's, talking to each other and getting stuff done. So it really has been a positive, couple weeks working here throughout the holidays, and, everybody's just getting it done. It's great.
And I'll just take the opportunity to add on that you know, it's been crazy. I mean, you guys have been taking care of that. I haven't been really helping with the tax collection, but it's been awesome with that. But we've also had Liz Knack come in part-time for us and help out at the window. That has been godsend. Sue Tenney has come back a little bit part-time just to help us out just with those clerk-related things that we don't know about.
Who's coming back?
So we had Liz Knack and Sue Tenney come in just to help us with clerk things with that experience. That has been a godsend too, especially with the nomination papers, the girls up front dealing with tax collection and nomination papers on top of that. So yeah, it's been busy. I mean, Judy and everyone else have been awesome with it. And then Judy and Missy, I mean, Dave gave Johnny a kudos, but I'll give Missy and Judy a kudos too for the Cdgb stuff, all the stuff they've been doing for this. They've been putting a lot of time and effort into that. On the Newton Blackmore Trail, we had a consultant do it, which I didn't even have to do much. I mean, Judy was doing this all in-house, so that's a lot of work. So kudos by far.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Judy.
Yep, Missy has been instrumental too. I wanted her here tonight, so that, you know, I tried to point her out, but she was off today, so she lucked out. She's like, oh darn. I said, oh, I know. She doesn't really like to be, you know, talked about in front of people either, but yeah, between the two of us, we definitely, and I just emailed the lady at the state too, and the communication between her and I has been very good. I'm not an expert at this, but I sure learned a lot through it. And asked her to be patient with me and Missy as we work through this. And I just sent her another email today and I said, I know I haven't touched base with you since last year, which I know is only 4 days ago, but I just want you to know we're still working on it. I have finance tonight. I'm presenting. So I don't want you to think she's like, thank you for letting me know where you're at. So it's just important to let people know that you haven't forgotten about what you're doing and moving forward. And then to be respectful and thankful for all that she's helped me with. So the state actually has also helped us through the process.
It's good to hear.
And not last but least, but we are also very blessed to have Jill Moss back in our office. So.
Okay. Any questions for Judy? Any questions in general? I guess the only question I have is maybe for Chad. How is the hiring process going? I know we have trying to get a whole bunch of people out there.
Yep. So right now,
inspector.
we've got 2 positions that we're working on. First was the building inspector position. We had 5 or 6 applications for that. Narrowed it down. We did the interviews, narrowed it down to 3 people, did the interviews, narrowed it down to their top candidate. I've got, in the last week, 2 out of the 3 reference checks done that I want to do. I'm still waiting to hear back from one other person that I've contacted and hasn't gotten back to me. But pretty sure this is our candidate. And once I hear back from that 3rd reference check, and Jill is doing the background check on this individual. This individual is from Michigan. So it takes a little bit longer because it's not Wisconsin. So we've got different databases and stuff that we're not usually accessing for a background check that she's working on. So, but that should be in the works pretty quick. We had 27 applications for the clerk position. We narrowed that down internally to 4 applicants. We've got interviews set up on January 21st and 22nd for that position. Well, that's a good question. Because right now it's I've got it set up for the 21st and 22nd. Judy, myself, Jill, and April, and the mayor. I don't know if Dave, if you want to be involved in that interview process. So I'll be in contact with you just in the back of your head, the 21st, 22nd in the afternoon. 2 interviews each day.
Okay.
With that. And then we're going to continue that process. But there are some people with clerk's experience, which is good to see with that. And that's where we're at with that. So I haven't been working on the public works and parks and recreation positions that we have been talking about. I didn't want to take off more than I could chew. I wanted to focus on these 2 first, and then we'll take it on the next step from there.
Good. Very good. John?
For possibly a future, maybe February agenda, to just put it on our radar, maybe, I don't know, maybe this is the time to bring that stuff up. A long time ago when I was on the school board, we started a process, or it was the first time they'd done anything, but it was for the council or the board members. But we underwent a self-evaluation process. And since we're at the new year and we probably, we're going to have some changeover on the council.
Probably.
But it's that time of year to think about what kind of process would we use to evaluate ourselves? We always are evaluating administration and folks within it's good to evaluate people, but it's good for us as a council probably to look at what it would look like if we evaluated ourselves, and with maybe even reach out to the school district and say, do you guys still do that? A self-evaluation form, basically it involved board members were all given a couple sheets to fill out. They rated themselves on a scale, personally. So it was kind of something you did personally, and it was anonymous. And then there's a place for comments, kind of like you would an exit interview type thing. But I don't know if that's far-fetched for you guys, but I think it would be valuable to see if anybody else does that and see what that process would look like, because it's good to kind of at this time of year, New Year's type thing. It's good to kind of step outside and look at
Okay.
those kind of things.
Yeah, I think we should put that on as a discussion item next month, just to
Okay.
get the reaction of the group. so forth
It's
and
just
so on.
not creating more work for anybody else. It's just something for us to think about, like have that process and talk about.
To be honestly truthful, no, the conferences I've attended, I never heard any city do that type of thing, but
For the school board, when they did that, it was very awkward the first year.
yeah, that's
But
what I would think.
a lot of good discussion came out of it. And we learned a lot about how we felt we fit into but it was an anonymous way to kind of share your thoughts on, are we, self-evaluation is good for people.
Sure.
So something to think about.
Okay, any other questions? If not, look for motion to adjourn. Mike,
Second.
Tom, seconds. All in favor?
Right.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.